Discover the incredible twist. How one night exposed the hidden love between a girl and a mafia boss. Lily Garcia had always prided herself on being the heartbeat of Pinewood's small animal clinic, pouring every ounce of energy into caring for the lives that came through its battered doors. Becoming the best veterinarian assistant was not merely a job, it was a lifeline for her, especially as the clinic battled each month to stay afloat. As she sifted through half-finished texts and mounting bills, fatigue clung to her like a damp fog. When her father was critically injured in a hit-and-run, that fog thickened into an ominous canopy of uncertainty, shrouding her world in shadows. In her heart, anger and heartbreak twisted like thorny vines. The doctor's words echoed hauntingly. "Critical condition, unconscious, we'll do our best." Lily's mouth turned dry as she fought to push back the rising tide of despair, realizing that this could plunge her into chaos. Yet amidst this turmoil, another realization crept in, tightening the noose around her heart. Her father had secrets, dark, dangerous ones. The whispers around Pinewood suffocated her. They slipped through the cracks of her home and into her thoughts. How could her father be involved in the underbelly of the town's mafia? The more she pried into it, the heavier the weight of her choices pressed against her chest, almost suffocating. Each sleepless night spent fielding phone calls came with a side of shame, draping her heart in the tattered fabric of loyalty, integrity, and blood ties. Torn between her father's legacy and her steadfast principles, she could barely breathe. One evening, over strong coffee in the diner, she met Marcus Romano. His charisma was intoxicating yet dangerous. He bore the mark of that hidden world, like a shadow stretching over their talks of hope and the uncertain future. The gravity of their shared grief and frustrations birthed a connection she had never anticipated. But with it came a frightful thrill, peeling back layers of normalcy to reveal the terrifying undercurrents of romance blooming right before her eyes. Marcus's world spotlighted the stark contrasts of her existence. While she slaved under the demands of upkeep at the clinic, he thrived beneath the glitz of a life doused in luxury. It made her question everything. Was it wrong to feel the magnetic pull toward this man who stood on the tightly woven line between her nightmares and her desires? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But the intimacy they shared cracked with tension. Each laugh felt like a betrayal to her father's honor, and her heart raced in turbulent turmoil. She sensed the storm brewing. The enigmatic past Marcus hid from her, tinged with chaos and uncertainty, clashed against her steadfast beliefs in the virtue of hard work and community. The laughter moments transformed into threads unraveling expectations, leaving a haunting silence behind. When reality smashed against the fragile walls of their relationship, her hesitation turned to desperation. Would she stand by her father's side, honoring the life he had built, or surrender to the chilling allure of Marcus's world? Torn, she stood at a crisis point, just as unsolved questions loomed large. Their stolen moments became scattered pixels in the night, casting doubts that left her unsure. Could love transcend the moral grayness that threatened to engulf them both? As they teetered on that precarious edge, Lily gulped down her fear, praying she could navigate the crumbling foundations of fate before everything she clung to slipped away. The dawn broke with an unsettling chill that seeped into Lily's bones. She stood outside the clinic, surrounded by the familiar sounds of morning. The chirping of birds felt discordant, mocking her, as she replayed last night's conversation with Marcus in her mind. Each detail twisted like a knife, pricking at her resolve. They had delved deeper into their pasts, each confession revealing vulnerabilities she had never expected to uncover. She had shared her fears of losing her father, and in return, Marcus had spoken about his own family, a legacy weighed down by violent choices and restless spirits. The air between them had thickened, charged with the history they both carried, and though he had promised he wanted to leave that life behind, she couldn't escape the shadows it cast on their connection. Returning to her responsibilities, Lily forced herself to focus on the animals that needed care. The clinic required her attention, yet the more she tended to the tired faces of her four-legged patients, the more the weight of her dilemma affected her work. Each gentle nudge prompted a flicker of warmth, yet simultaneously reignited the turmoil of decision swirling within her. Could she remain steadfast to her roots while venturing into the unknown realms illuminated by Marcus's electric presence? Just as she calmed herself with petting a whimpering puppy, her phone buzzed. Reading the message triggered a jolt. Marcus wanted to meet. Stomach twisting with anxiety, she knew that meeting with him could mean crossing another line, and the stakes were rising faster than she could decipher. Could one more meeting lead to clarity, or would it plunge her deeper into the web of confusion spinning around her? Despite her apprehension, as the hours crept by, she felt herself drawn to him, an innate compulsion pulling her toward his world. Maybe, just maybe, she could uncover the truth about her father's entanglements and Marcus's promises. With practiced calm, Lily closed the clinic early, needing the extra focus for the conversation ahead. She dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that blended professionalism with an understated allure. She needed to present herself as strong a person with agency, not merely a reflection of the chaos surrounding her. The diner's ambience buzzed with the feel of casual familiarity as she approached their usual booth. The scent of breakfast filled the air, yet it couldn't mask her anxiety. As Marcus entered, his presence was magnetic. The tension between them crackled like static electricity. Every shared glance felt loaded with unsaid words, uncharted territory her heart longed to explore. "Lily," he greeted, his voice a gentle storm as he slid into the seat across from her. "I'm glad you came." The sincerity in his eyes momentarily calmed her racing thoughts, but the remnants of doubt tangled within her. "I need to know what this means for us, Marcus. Reviving feelings for you feels disloyal to my father, and frankly, I'm terrified of what could happen." He leaned closer, intensity radiating from him. "I understand. But we both have to decide what's worth fighting for, don't we? I can show you a way out, a future without your father as shadows. Or," he hesitated, searching her eyes, "you can choose to stay where you are. But I can't promise I'll wait forever." The ultimatum hung in the air, heavy with the weight of decision. She could feel the impending knot in her stomach coiling tighter. Marcus' South world seemed tantalizingly close, but embracing it meant risking all she held dear. As she struggled to gather her thoughts, the door swung open, ringing a bell that drew their attention. A group of men entered with a palpable aura of danger. Lily's heart raced as she recognized one of them, a figure from her father's past, marking an intersection that could trigger revelations she wasn't ready to confront. The moment of truth seemed to draw near, and questions now rushed towards her like an unmanageable tide. What lay ahead was uncertain and fraught with peril, but the allure of decision called to her with a seductive whisper. The need to confront the past and shape her own future was brewing. Could she risk everything for clarity? And as she looked back at Marcus, she knew the choice would define her. The diner felt suddenly suffocating. As the men, clad in leather jackets and hardened expressions, moved through the room, Lily's instincts screamed for retreat, a desire to escape the weight of history pressing at her back. Yet, instead of leaving, she froze in place, torn between the past she desperately wanted to understand and the present, where her heart raced for the man across from her. Marcus turned his head slightly, his gaze narrowing on the newcomers. The brief flicker of tension on his face mirrored her own turmoil. "Stay close," he murmured, though the command felt more like a plea. In that fleeting moment, she recognized the deep, protective spirit beneath his bravado, a man willing to stand in the fray for her. Her mind buzzed, tethered to thoughts of who these intruders were and what impact they might have on the delicate balance she was trying to maintain. Did Marcus have ties to them? Was a world engulfed in violence and shadows about to swallow her whole? The distant murmur of offhand conversations faded away, replaced by the steady drumbeat of her heart. Just as unsettling was the gnawing realization, she had been chasing comfort in Marcus's presence, but now she faced the specter of her father's world. That moment of inertia became a crucible, forcing her to confront a truth she had suppressed: her loyalty to a father whose decisions may very well endanger her. Would you follow him, even if it led you to darkness? She questioned quietly, barely recognizing her own voice. This isn't just about us, Marcus replied, his intensity unwavering. It's about breaking cycles. I need this for myself, for both of us. But it requires strength more than just emotional resolve. I need you to stand by my side not only in love, but in the fight. Her heart surged at the implications. Could she truly become more than a bystander to her own narrative? In that moment, self-doubt shimmered like a mirage, and potential stirred inside her. As the men gathered at the counter, exchanging hushed words, another emotion welled up within her: curiosity. What was Marcus truly envisioning? A life free from the claws of familial expectations and burdens? The ambition he projected was intoxicating. A gruff voice sliced through the air, commanding her attention. You with him? One of the men asked, gesturing toward Marcus. The question hung like a noose, ominously waiting for a response. What is it to you? Marcus shot back, the raw defiance in his tone invigorating Lily. This was no longer mere attraction. She was witnessing a man poised for his own emergence, a warrior fueled not just by passion, but purpose. The tension shifted, and for the first time, she felt an awareness of her own position. She was no longer merely the daughter burdened by familial ties, she was a key player on this chessboard. Rising from her seat, she placed her hand over Marcus's, determination flooding through her. I'm with him, she declared. The words surprised even her, resonating with authority she hadn't anticipated she possessed. Marcus's eyes widened, surprise giving way to admiration. In the stillness that followed, the diners turned to them, and the air thickened with a mixture of intrigue and apprehension. Sam, let it go, one of the men ordered, visibly annoyed but strangely intrigued. Their unexpected engagement drew forth a ripple of energy. This was not just a confrontation, it was a catalyst for transformation. Lily felt that she had stepped into a new realm, a space where her voice mattered, where the decisions made could ripple across the lives intertwined with her own. But clarity was still elusive. The question persisted. Could she balance this newfound strength with the fears rooted in her history? As the unyielding reality of Marcus's world closed in, shadows of doubt lingered. The stakes had been raised, and the game was no longer just about her heart. With a resolute gaze at Marcus, she whispered, I can't go back. Tell me, what's next? The moment hung heavy in the air as Marcus smiled, purpose flickering in his eyes. It was undeniable, she had stepped beyond fear, but what awaited them on this treacherous path was yet to unfold. The door swung shut with a finality that echoed in her chest, leaving her on the precipice of choices yet to be made. What lay ahead was not merely about love or allegiance. It would challenge her very essence, forcing her to confront the truth of her lineage amidst a tide that began to surge. Does she have what it takes to carve out her own path, free from the shadows that sought to define her? As the unease settled over her, she realized the true fight was just beginning. The diner's atmosphere shifted palpably as the men dispersed, leaving a lingering tension that wrapped itself around Lily like a shroud. She felt different now, almost electrified, discovering a wellspring of strength she hadn't known existed within her. As she locked eyes with Marcus, determination mingled with uncertainty, a compelling cocktail of fear and resolve surging through her veins. Right, Marcus said, breaking the silence. I need you to meet me at the back entrance in 10 minutes. We need to talk strategy. The gravity in his voice pulled her in, anchoring her swirling thoughts. What strategy could possibly encompass the whirlwind of life-changing reality she was about to step into? The questions danced in her mind like fireflies, a chaotic medley of fear and ambition illuminating dark corners. She had chosen her path, albeit without a clear view of the road ahead. Time to embrace the unknown. The minutes felt laborious as she pretended to sip her coffee, her mind racing with concern over the booth of men who still lingered, watching. What did they know? What would come next? For the first time, she was aware of how vulnerable her position made her feel, and yet there was an exhilaration in embracing the fight that lay before her. When she found her way to the rear of the diner, The cool evening air brushed against her skin, a stark contrast to the heated intensity churning in her stomach. Marcus was waiting there, shadows playing across his face, the outlines of resolved determination mingling with vulnerability. "We need to set boundaries and gather information," he stated, his tone steady despite the tension in the air. "Your background might give us an edge." Caution wrestled within her. Her father's world was filled with pitfalls. Being connected to it meant drawing in the very dangers she had hoped to escape. Yet, as her gaze hardened, she felt her fear morph into purpose. "I can't deny where I came from, but I also refuse to be defined by it." Her words cut through the uncertainty. Marcus's eyes narrowed, admiration reflecting in them as he measured her resolve. "This isn't about proving yourself. It's about survival. The men we just encountered, I need to know if you're involved with them. I can support you, but I want to be used as a pawn." Her voice trembled slightly, a surge of bravery propelling her forward as she confronted the monster lurking within her own reality. He stepped closer, the heat of his comfort stifling yet grounding. "I'm here for you, and I'm not asking you to make sacrifices for me. Your safety is paramount." The sincerity in his voice cut through her defense, igniting a glimmer of faith. "Then teach me." The words flew from her lips before she could stop them. It was a challenge, but more importantly, it was a realization of her own potential. She could step up and take charge. No longer would she flinch from the shadows of her father's legacy. She would transform it into armor, a source of strength. "Are you ready for that?" he asked, skepticism laced throughout. This was just the beginning of everything. Could she transform from passive observer into a force of change? "I am. Whatever skills I might have, I'll explore them." The clarity of her intent rang through the evening air, vibrant and alive, a signal sent forth into their murky reality. The gravity of her commitment weighed heavily, yet so did the thrill of possibility. The stakes elevated. What lay ahead promised a grind of hardship and fights, perhaps even confrontations with those who would threaten their small flame of newfound partnership. But before she could indulge in doubt, the door to the diner swung open, footsteps echoing through the quiet. A figure emerged, a face she recognized far too well. A connection from her father's past. The realization gripped her with profound urgency. The choices before her would soon collide head-on with her lineage. Lily's heart sank as she locked eyes with that familiar figure, uncertainty crashing over her like a tidal wave. The question crystallized in her mind: would they face this challenge together, or would the shadows from her past pull them apart? In that moment, she knew this was no longer just about understanding her lineage. It was about dismantling it, shattering the walls that had previously confined her identity, and ensuring she and Marcus emerged unbroken. Her journey of transformation had just begun, but would she weather the storm ahead? Lily's heartbeat thrummed in her ears, drowning out the chatter spilling from inside the diner. She recognized him well, Vincent, a ghost from her family's past, a man whose reputation preceded him like a foul wind. The air grew thick, reality felt as fragile as glass. How did he find her? Why now? Vincent's presence wasn't just a reminder of the life she had fought to escape. It was a prompt, an echoing challenge to either succumb to the weight of her history or confront it head-on. Her breath quickened as she searched for words, her mind racing through scenarios. What motivations lay beneath his soft, practiced smile? Would it be an olive branch or a noose? "Lily," he drawled, his voice smooth and disarmingly affectionate, "it's been a long time." A forced smile danced on her lips while her mind collected data. This encounter was no casual meeting. She was standing at the intersection of past and future. "Vincent," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "What brings you here?" "Just passing through, but I had to see you." "How have you been?" His question was innocent, yet laden with implication. The shadows of curiosity and suspicion flickered in her chest. If she played this wrong, could Marcus and her new resolve be at risk? "Fine," she said, measuring her words. "Busy working?" "Still in the diner?" He gestured vaguely toward the building behind her, the familiar warmth now overshadowed by the chill of her recollections. "It's a good place for a young woman like you." 1,000 defenses surged within her. She could almost analogize them to a fortified wall she had erected in her mind. And you? Still playing the family game? The flicker of amusement was fleeting in Vincent's eyes. You know how it is, some things you can't escape. Questions swirled in her mind as she searched for validity behind his casual demeanor. The potential risks unfurling were daunting. What if Vincent had come to manipulate, to lure her back into a world she desperately wanted to leave? Trusting him could lead to dire consequences for both her and Marcus. While she struggled internally, Marcus, her anchor, stood a shadowed presence beside her, inching closer. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Vincent, he said, his voice firm with barely concealed tension. Lily appreciated the support, but she craved agency over her narrative. She needed to address this. Wait, she said, dismissing Marcus's protective instinct. I need to understand why you're really here. Vincent's expression sharpened, intrigue painting his features. You've always been bold, Lily. That's why I wanted to talk. What do you mean? I think it's time for you to consider the opportunities your legacy could provide. Think of what you still have access to, the connections. No, she interrupted, feeling anger at his insinuations swell inside. I will not go back to that life. I'm breaking free from all of it. His voice softened, almost a whisper. You think you can outrun it? You'll always be connected to this world. His words echoed the silent fears she had kept buried, threatening to stir the very worst parts of her. You don't understand, she countered, her determination carving through doubt. I'm not running, I'm choosing to stand and fight. No need to fight, he replied, leaning slightly closer. I can help you. Let me show you what it means to be part of this family, what we can achieve together. Lily clenched her fists, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had come so far, shedding layers of her family's influences, yet here stood the opportunity of a lifetime, both alluring and dangerous. The shadows that she thought she would darken would only deepen if she allowed Vincent back in. It's not your decision, Vincent. The past doesn't dictate my future, she maintained, voice unwavering. But as she asserted her position, uncertainty flickered at the edge of her consciousness. With his gaze never wavering, he leaned back, weighing her words. Remember, Lily, the shadows you fear the most may yet illuminate your path forward. As Vincent turned to leave, a sense of gravity settled upon her shoulders, filling the air with unresolved tension. She was left standing at a precipice strong enough not to give in, yet so profoundly aware that the consequences of her next choice could bind or liberate her forever. The echoes of Vincent's proposition lingered, as urgent and riveting as the storm brewing inside her. How would she come to terms with her family's legacy? More importantly, would she stand firm against those who may seek to wield it against her? With every heartbeat, the uncertainty wrapped around her once again. What confrontations awaited her in the burgeoning battle against her past? Lily felt the ground shift beneath her as Vincent's silhouette faded into the evening shadows. Her palms tingled with residual tension, the confrontation leaving her mind entangled in the unsettling possibilities of what his return could mean. With every beat of her heart, she wrestled with the deep-seated fear that she wasn't as far removed from her family's legacy as she had convinced herself. Marcus turned to her, his expression a mix of concern and protectiveness. Are you okay? I'm fine, she replied, a hint of defensiveness creeping into her voice. She could sense Marcus's understanding, yet the wellspring of emotions roiling within her felt almost too intense to share. Lily, I know you want to assert your independence, but he's dangerous. We can't lose sight of what we've built together. His words echoed in the silence that enveloped her, grounding her in the present even as the ghost of Vincent's words lingered. I want to lose myself again. I refuse to let him manipulate me, she asserted with greater strength than she felt. But as she looked into Marcus's eyes, she felt a tension that extended beyond concern. Would they manage to outpace her past, or were they trapped in a race against a reality that dictated she would always be tied to Vincent and the world he represented? Let us go inside, Marcus suggested, tilting his head toward the warm glow of the diner. The familiar sight sparkled with a diffused warmth, a stark contrast to the chill that had settled in Lily's bones. Sitting down at their usual booth, the scent of coffee and pancakes enveloped her, wrapping her in a comforting cocoon. Yet, even as she clutched her mug tightly, the turbulence within her refused to settle. Her thoughts churned, a storm brewing, influenced by the looming revelation of Vincent's offer that could dramatically shift the course of her life. "Maybe I should consider what Vincent said," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. The admission felt treasonous, a betrayal to everything she had fought for. Marcus frowned, his brow furrowing. "You don't mean that. It's a trap. Is it? What if there are connections I need to leverage? Opportunities I'm not seeing?" "Lily, stop. Just hear me out," she interrupted, holding up her hand. "This isn't just about him. This is about me gathering the tools to ensure I'm armed against that world in case it reaches for me again. If I refuse to engage, it doesn't just disappear." He sighed heavily, the weight of the conversation settling heavily upon them. "You have a plan?" "Not yet, but if I don't face this head on, I risk everything again: my life, my future with you. I need to preemptively take back control." The resolve in her voice startled even her. It was raw and unyielding, as if something deep within had awakened, urging her toward empowerment she hadn't realized she possessed. Yet the very thought of handling Vincent's proposal twisted her stomach into knots. Could she trust herself enough to navigate the treacherous waters of her family's legacy without drowning? "I just need time to think," she finally said, more to herself than to Marcus. With his unwavering support, she felt the fabric of her identity slowly reshaping, reducing the overwhelming shadows into manageable threads. As the sun dipped below the horizon outside, bathing the diner in hues of pink and orange, Lily realized she stood on the brink of a crucial decision. Would she pursue the dangerous allure of her family's connections or safeguard the life she was building with Marcus? Either path held the potential for discovery but also peril. The waitress approached with their orders, and as they exchanged pleasantries, Lily's mind buzzed with strategy, evaluation, and perhaps a hint of exhilaration. Each bite of food tasted bittersweet, as she vacillated between the realities that lay ahead. As they wrapped up their meal, Marcus studied her, searching for an emotional foothold amid her quiet turmoil. "Whatever you decide, I'm here for you." "Thank you," she replied, a flicker of warmth igniting in her chest. "I just hope that when the time comes, I can summon the strength to confront it all." Little did she know that the battle would not wait. The next day would bring a contact from Vincent, a test of her will, pushing her to confront not just her family but the depths of her own strength. Lingering in her mind was one thought: could she truly hold her ground, or would the shadows of her past finally consume her? The sun sliced through the city's skyline as dawn broke, shining through the thin curtains of Lily's apartment. Despite the serene morning light, an unsettling tension gripped her. The new day brought an anticipation thick with uncertainty, the kind that made her stomach churn. Lily rose, the weight of yesterday's revelations still heavy on her shoulders. She needed a plan, she needed clarity, but the path forward felt murky at best. Sipping her coffee, she could feel the warmth coursing through her, yet it did little to quell the doubts creeping in. What if she engaged with Vincent's world and uncovered a strength she didn't know existed? What if she stepped into that darkness only to find it swallowed her whole? For now, she pushed the uncertainty aside. She needed to gather information, to frame her choices with intention. After a shower that did little to wash away her concerns, Lily dressed in a fitted blazer and jeans, reflecting a strong, professional facade. She needed to look the part of someone who was in control of her destiny, even if her heart raced with ambivalence. At the office, the hum of her surrounding colleagues fueled her determination. She was deep in her spreadsheet, numbers blurring together, when her phone lit up. The text was short but jarring: Vincent wanted to meet. He'd be waiting at a nearby cafe. Panic ricocheted inside her, but beneath that fear lay the thrill of agency. This meeting could either reaffirm her boundaries or lay the groundwork for something she couldn't predict. "Lily, you okay?" Jordan, her coworker, asked, leaning over her desk with a concerned smile. "Yeah, just got a lot on my mind," she replied with a wave of her hand, trying to dismiss any connection between her unease and her impending rendezvous with Vincent. As she stepped out of the office, she took a deep breath, letting the crisp air sharpen her focus. This was a chance to reclaim her narrative, to wield the power of knowledge instead of remaining a passive player in this deadly game. Arriving at the cafe, she noticed Vincent seated at a secluded table, a relaxed demeanor permeating his presence. The confidence he exuded only stirred her anxiety further. As she took a seat opposite him, she felt an extensive swirl of emotions contending for dominion, caution, resentment, curiosity, and unbidden attraction. "Lily," he said with an easy smile, "I'm glad you came." His tone was disarming, wrapping around her like ivy. She struggled for composure, a thousand retorts fluttering through her mind, but she remained silent, waiting for him to unveil his intentions. "I know you're wary," he continued, tilting his head with feigned empathy, "but I want you to see the opportunities you could harness. You could be much more than just a name in the shadows." Her pulse quickened. "What do you mean by that?" He leaned forward, the mischief dancing in his eyes. "There are finances at our disposal, connections you wouldn't believe, all waiting to be leveraged. You could be a bridge, not just a pawn." There it was, the allure of power, the seduction of influence. Each word pulled her deeper into a web she had desperately tried to escape. Yet the idea of control glimmered enticingly. "How do I know this isn't just a trap?" she challenged, her voice steady yet her interior trembling. "Trust is built through transparency," Vincent replied, his expression shifting into something more serious. "I can show you how to navigate this world without losing yourself. But it requires courage." Lily swallowed hard, weighing his offer against her own desires. Here was a chance to confront her family's legacy on her own terms rather than simply outrunning it. The question burrowed deep within: would her courage hold, or would it lead her into a pitfall she couldn't escape? Time seemed suspended as she considered his proposition, the cafe bustling around them fading into a distant hum. She felt a current shift. She was no longer just a pawn in their game. For the first time, she could feel the stirring within, a flicker of ambition taking flight. As the cafe chatter blended into an indistinct drone, a singular thought crystallized in her mind. The tangled road ahead promised danger, but perhaps it was also the gateway to the power she so desperately craved. Would she have the fortitude to seize it? The question lingered heavily. The moment was coming, whether she could wield that power, and what she would sacrifice in the process, awaited her next decision. Lily sat across from Vincent, the ambient noise of the cafe swirling like a tempest around them, but her focus narrowed solely on the man who held her fate in his hands. His easy confidence, a mask of charm, provoked both intrigue and dread within her. She knew she had to navigate the conversation carefully, to reclaim her sense of purpose. Now was the moment to harness her uncertainties and turn them into power. "What do you need from me?" she asked, her voice firmer than she felt. She had reached a precipice. It was exhilarating, yet her limbs felt tethered to the ground as if fear were binding her in place. Vincent smiled, leaning back slightly, assessing her. "To start, I want you to act as my liaison. Use your resources to help us maintain our business connections. You have access to circles I can't penetrate without drawing too much attention." The prospect both thrilled and terrified her. The feeling of slipping further into a world shrouded in shadows was intoxicating. Yet beneath the surface, doubt gnawed at her resolve. Could she align herself with the very things she had sought to escape? Would her involvement tarnish her own moral compass? "Why me?" she pushed, her mind racing. "There are countless others you could choose. Because you're already in their world, but uninformed." Vincent's gaze was piercing. "You possess an innate understanding of the business landscape. The others are either too hamstrung by traditional views or unaware of the opportunities that lie beyond their reach. You're different. You can see the bigger picture." His words resonated deep within her, echoing the ambition she had long suppressed. But it was quickly dampened by the shadow of her family's legacy looming over her. "You talk about opportunity, but what's the cost of stepping into that world? What if I lose myself?" Vincent leaned closer, the intensity of his expression cutting through the veil of cafe chatter. We all have choices to make, Lily. It's in the darkness that we often uncover our true selves. I can help you find the strength hidden beneath the layers of fear and doubt. You'd be surprised at what you can become. Encouraged by his assertive tone, the recognition of her potential began to unfurl within her, yet the embedded trepidation loomed large. She considered the lives entwined with Vincent's dealings, the consequences her choices might yield. Was this merely a game, or was it a genuine means of empowerment? Lily dropped her gaze, reflecting on the turmoil swirling in her heart. There was undeniable temptation in what Vincent offered, the chance to reshape her identity, to mold it into something robust and powerful. But at what price? Would she become a mere puppet, dancing to the strings of a man she barely knew, or could she navigate this labyrinth and carve her own path? Show me, she finally said, the words barely escaping her lips. It was a reluctant admission born from curiosity rather than clarity, yet it felt like she was making the first move in reclaiming her story. Vincent lifted an eyebrow, a flicker of approval crossing his features. Patience is key. We will begin slowly. You need to understand your role before diving deep into the waters. She studied his face, debating if he could be trusted. Vincent was an enigma, cloaked in layers of intention. As she steeled herself for the plunge into this underworld, she sensed an unexpected resolve taking root within her. Fine, she said, forcing confidence into her voice. Let's see what this journey entails, but I'll determine my boundaries. Wise choice, he replied, his demeanor shifting into one of cold calculation. Just remember, in this game, clarity is the foundation of your strength. As she left the cafe, a mix of exhilaration and fear coursed through her veins. She was about to traverse a terrain whose danger was eclipsed only by its promise. She felt the ground shifting beneath her as she took her first tentative steps into a world that threatened to break or empower her. But more than that, a new question began to form: how far was she willing to go to regain control of her life? The path ahead twisted like a serpent, leaving her in suspense about what awaited her. The stakes were higher than she had ever anticipated, and she was aware that every choice, every calculated risk, would define who she would become. With each step away from the cafe, the realization dawned: she hadn't just taken a step toward Vincent's world. She was unlocking the door to her transformation. The sensation was both intoxicating and frightening, leaving her to ponder the strength she would need to face what lay ahead. Would her newfound ambition pull her deeper into the shadows, or could she harness it to illuminate the darkness? The answers teetered just out of reach, waiting for her to confront the inevitable. Next, she knew, the test of her courage and resolve was rapidly approaching. The following morning, Lily woke up with the soft light creeping through her curtains, illuminating the dust particles suspended in the air. The warmth of the sunlight contrasted sharply with the cold thrill still racing through her veins from meeting Vincent. She felt as if she were standing on a precipice, and today, she would take another step forward. Doubt crept back in as she sat on the edge of her bed, her mind a web of fears and possibilities. She glanced at her phone, the screen lighting up with messages from her friends. They were planning a casual brunch, their usual escape from the requirements of adult life. But instead, she opened Vincent's message detailing their planned meeting later that afternoon. Discussion points about business and networking whirled in her mind, clashing against the notion of abandoning her friends and the comfort of familiarity. She stood and moved to her closet, selecting her clothes deliberately. Dressing wasn't just about fabric meeting skin. It was about crafting an image of herself she hoped to embody. The day felt monumental, a gateway to a version of herself that could thrive in these uncharted waters. Each piece she donned felt like armor. She needed to appear composed, if only to convince herself that she was ready. Lily arrived at the location Vincent specified, an upscale, secluded lounge that buzzed with energy. It was a space that exuded sophistication yet felt laden with secrets. The air pulsated with confidence, and she steeled herself to absorb everything that came her way. When Vincent entered, he drew attention effortlessly, his aura commanding the space. He greeted her with a nod that felt like a signal, a reminder that she was officially stepping into a new realm. The sparks of nervous anticipation coursed through her as they settled into a private booth. "Let's talk strategy," Vincent said, leaning in. His focus was unwavering, which made her heart race. She was suddenly acutely aware of the power dynamics at play. Here was a man moving through shadows with ease, while she felt still tethered to the light, unsure. They discussed connections, potential clients, influential figures, and hidden opportunities. Each name he mentioned sent shivers of excitement tinged with fear through her. She was already deep within a labyrinth of power players, each a possible ally or adversary. Lily realized that this was more than mere networking. It was a dance of intentions, their rhythms designed to entrap or liberate. As Vincent spoke, she discovered hidden stories nestled within his explanations, tales of past encounters that shaped his approach to business. She listened closely, fascinated by how he navigated the landscape with knowledge and respect, weaving a complex narrative that inspired her. "Understand this, Lily," he said, pausing to gauge her reaction. "Every person we meet is a stepping stone or a blockade. It's your job to analyze them closely, trust instincts over appearances." The tension in her chest began to unravel. This was not just about business, it was about insight, anticipating moves before they unfolded. Here, within this charged atmosphere, she felt something wake inside her, a primal instinct sharpened by her desire to prove herself. But with that awakening came new internal conflicts. Would she often toe a fine line between ambition and ethics? Would the thirst for power lead her to compromise her values? The stakes were demanding her undivided focus, yet the moral compass she held dear began to sway. "Deal only with those who mirror your ambition," Vincent continued, his voice a steady pulse against her swirling doubts. "A mentor, a partner, sometimes even adversaries can guide your way if you look closely." Lily nodded, conscious of her internal struggle but finally ready to confront the real question. Could she maintain her integrity in the pursuit of success, or would the game change her from the inside out? She caught Vincent's eye, and for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she could play this game without losing herself. As they concluded their meeting, Lily felt a powerful resolve taking root within her. She would immerse herself fully into this world, clutching tightly to her boundaries while forging ahead, preparing for any challenges lurking in the shadows. But just then, Vincent leaned closer, the weight of his next words enveloping her. "Tomorrow, we engage with a potential partner who has connections to the heart of everything. I hope you're ready, because this will be your first real test." The gravity his words carried sent a chill through her. No longer was this just an introduction to a new role, it was the beginning of her transformative journey, and the challenge would define not just her career, but her very essence. Lily exhaled slowly, her heart pounding, as her mind raced ahead, processing the uncertainty that lay ahead. What would tomorrow bring? Uncertainty was her only companion, but she would cling to her ambition as she ventured deeper into this enigmatic dance. The time had come to uncover who she truly was meant to become. Would she emerge empowered, or risk becoming trapped by the very forces she sought to master? Lily Garcia stood in front of the mirror, the reflection staring back at her wasn't just an image. It was a culmination of choices, revelations, and the strength she had unearthed over the past weeks. Today would mark a transformative moment, an opportunity to redefine her identity amidst the pressures of the world she had cautiously stepped into. As she carefully crafted her appearance, each piece of clothing felt emblematic of the empowerment she had claimed. The fitted blazer she wore wasn't merely a garment. It represented an unyielding determination, the culmination of her journey from the suffocating shadows of her father's legacy to an illuminated path of opportunity. She could feel the subtle thrill of a challenge electrifying her spirit. She was ready to seize her destiny. The meeting with the potential partner wasn't just pivotal for her career. It was a profound personal exploration, one that would test the integrity she so fiercely valued. As she maneuvered through the city streets, her breath came in measured strides. The weight of her decision turned into a fuel for her purpose, igniting the fire within. When she arrived at the upscale restaurant, the polished exterior mirrored the ambition bubbling within her. She was no longer standing on the periphery of her life. She was launching herself into the heart of her narrative, a protagonist determined to craft her destiny rather than let it be dictated by others. As Vincent introduced her to the potential partner, confidence surged through her. The conversation flowed seamlessly at first, punctuated by laughter and clever repartee, a dance of words that exuded finesse. But as the partners shifted the topic toward the underbelly of business connections, Lily felt a challenge arise. She needed to assert her stance without eroding the foundations she had so carefully built. When he pressed for insight into her background, probing the depths of her family's legacy, she recognized an opportunity to redefine her narrative. Rather than shy away from her roots, she pressed forward, claiming agency over the story others had crafted for her. While my family's past is part of who I am, it does not define my future. I believe in leveraging experiences to carve a different path, one that respects the past while maximizing the potential of the present. Her conviction resonated in the room, silencing any skepticism woven in their assumptions. She saw the flicker of interest from both Vincent and their potential partner, acknowledgement of her strength settling like a mantle upon her shoulders. This was her moment of ascendance, the evidence of her metamorphosis from an uncertain girl to a formidable force. As their meeting wrapped up, exhilaration buzzed in her veins. This was not merely the beginning of her career's rise, but a profound affirmation of her growth. The connection they forged was transcending the transactional. It echoed a shared understanding of ambition and resilience, shaping her new identity on her own terms. When she stepped back into the sunlight, the rush of possibilities cascading before her felt surreal. The shadows that had once loomed over her family legacy transformed into whispers of lessons learned. She could navigate her lineage while claiming her independence, embracing what made her fierce and relatable simultaneously. Emboldened by the day's success, Lily returned home. As she rehashed the depiction of the woman she wanted to become, her mind spun with invaluable insights. Each challenge had honed her resilience, each conversation had sparked new dimensions of her intelligence, and every decision had proved she was worthy of her ambitions. Days turned into weeks as she navigated her new role, the air shimmering with exhilaration. Her prowess blossomed, and she soon found herself spearheading initiatives, solidifying her position and reputation. She emerged as a confident figure in the once distant world that Vincent had introduced her to, but she refused to shed the layers of integrity that rooted her in reality. Through each legitimate partnership and negotiation, she held her ground, blending her learnings with honesty, fostering connections that shimmered with respect. The moments she once feared, the predictions of darkness, instead became stepping stones toward achievement. Success came not just from capturing the tides of the corporate realm but also through moments of introspection that allowed her to bridge empathy with ambition, a delicate balance she'd crafted with precision. She proved that she could harness the very shadows of her father's world to illuminate her path forward. As the sun dipped beyond the horizon that evening, draping the city in a golden glow, Lily felt a sense of victory wash over her. She had transcended the conflict, not only achieving recognition within her burgeoning career but also cultivating unwavering self-worth that was rooted deeply in her truth. There, amidst the vibrant din of life swirling outside her window, she found peace and understanding that she had conquered her fears, embraced her legacy, and rewritten her narrative. This transformation was not merely a fleeting shift, it was an evolution she carried proudly, a testament to her resilience and resolve. As she gazed out at the skyline, empowered by the choices she had made, she carried with her an indomitable confidence. The future was no longer an unfathomable expanse but a realm ripe with opportunity, where she could reach for the stars and embody the essence of everything she had worked to achieve. And with that clarity, Lily allowed herself to dream vividly of new horizons ahead, basking in the triumph of personal growth. This was not just an endpoint, but a glorious beginning. Now, if you resonated with Lily's incredible journey, you need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories of empowerment. Leave a like now, it truly helps feed the algorithm and push these transformative narratives forward. Comment below with your thoughts about Lily's evolution. What would you do in her shoes? Share instantly with at least 5 fabulous friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the joy of personal overcoming stories.